Milwaukee, Wisconsin, home of the Brewers and the Bucks, and where football fanatics are all Packer fans, hoping their team can improve on last year's record. And Milwaukee, where record crowds have gathered on this Labor Day weekend for the Miller Maritime Festival. Hi again, everybody. I'm Jim Kelly, and welcome to the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race. World-renowned sailor and former America's Cup skipper Buddy Melgus is alongside. My partner from nearby Zenda, Wisconsin. So a lot of the people out there aboard the spectator boats are close personal friends of Buddy's. Now, just seconds from the start, and of course the first two Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Races competed for in the saltwater of San Francisco and Corpus Christi Bay. But the freshwater here in Milwaukee Harbor, dramatically different. What's the major difference?
Well, it's sweet water. The boats are going to sink in a bit more, but they won't notice that. 12 to 15 miles of wind we have here today, Jim, is a perfect setting. The course is a bit smaller because we're inside the breakwater, but I'm looking for the crew work to be the ultimate in making these guys go around the course without a problem to win the race. You're going to have to start first. They're going to have to stay out in front, increase their lead, because these boats have got a quick speed of closure. It's going to be exciting.
Plus the ever-present possibility of flipping over. Out on the race course in pre-start maneuvers now, evaluating the wind and water conditions. The crowd 10 deep, lining the breakwater. Joining us, our Kiwi colleague, Peter Montgomery.
Thanks, guys. Super conditions here for the Ultimate 30s. And over the new, tight course here in Milwaukee, there'll be magnificent viewing for the spectators that are all jammed along the waterfront here. The other interesting aspect about the course here in Milwaukee is that the boats don't go outside the breakwater, which means in contrast to San Francisco and Corpus Christi, the water will be a lot flatter. All of those ingredients mean that flyers should hold their favoritism, but they're going to get some tough competition from the others.
And so the field favored Maryland Flyer, the boat that won in San Francisco and the only boat to have competed in all Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Races. Again, sailed by veteran Mike Hobson and his crew. Chattanooga Chew, Mark Flo, whose winnings this year already exceed $40,000, looking forward to capturing his first Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race. From San Francisco, Team Duraflame, led by 12-meter veteran Russell Long, he'll be testing the waters in their brand-new modified Moore 30. Moon Development, skippered by world-class dinghy and IOR sailor Ed Baird, also making its debut. Act Racing, John Heinemann's team, competing for the first time with a crew including a number of Johnstone One-Design 14 sailors. So, Buddy, here we go. Just 40 seconds to the start now. And the 5 Ziploc Ultimate 30s lining up just off the breakwater as they prepare to reach to the first mark.
At the far end of the line, Maryland Flyer is just to leeward and ahead of Chattanooga Chew. Near the seawall and several lengths to leeward of Moon Development is Team Duraflame. Moon Development is in good position in the middle of the line.
Let's go, 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 go. Full speed.
While Act Racing tries to build up as much speed as they can behind Duraflame to avoid being late for the start.
Seconds to the start now, the field of 5 tightly bunched.
At the line, Team Duraflame pulls away to avoid crossing early.
So, Buddy, it's Moon Development and Team Duraflame with the better start, slugging it out now and working their way up to almost 10 knots of boat speed.
Nice start, guys. Hike it hard. Set jib on. I think you can trim
Team
with your
Duraflame
hands.
now powering up and driving for clear air.
Keep it flat. We got to bust out right here, fellas.
As the fleet approaches that first mark, Team Duraflame seems to have worked their way out of the pack into the lead.
Yes, due to her position on the starting line, she's able to sail closer to the wind, a faster course. And meanwhile, on board Flyer, they're fighting for an inside overlap over Moon Development.
The overlap acknowledged, Moon forced to give room. So after that short, quick reach as they round the first mark, now it's time to trim the sails and head upwind. Team Duraflame should have a slight advantage. Favored Maryland Flyer sitting in good position in second. Then it's Moon Development, Chattanooga Chew, and Act Racing.
Don't hit us!
Duraflame's in perfect position here to throw the dirty air in the boats astern. They're going to have to clear to the left side of the course.
Getting lots of dirty air, Buddy. Act Racing, the last to round. So Bobby Wilmot calls for a clearing tack.
Well, when a lot of you last saw Buddy Melgus, he was helping to change Heart of America in the America's Cup from pretender to contender. Right now, he's out aboard an Ultimate 30 to go over the course.
Jim, in San Francisco, we were sailing on the bay with lots of wind. Then we went down to Corpus Christi. We had great air there, sailing in more open water. We're in Milwaukee now, sailing inside the breakwater of Lake Michigan, and we have a more restricted course.
The start and finish line is between a starting pennant at the Ziploc Pavilion and a yellow buoy approximately 30 yards offshore. The first leg was a short reach to the orange mark moored only a few hundred yards away. This second leg will be a beat-up wind. The third leg is a reach across to the yellow mark just inside the breakwater. On the fourth leg, the boats will turn downwind to return to the first mark they rounded. The fleet will then once again beat upwind to the windward mark on the fifth leg. The sixth leg is a long reach across the harbor to the far orange mark. At that mark, they will turn and head up the seventh leg on a port tack fetch to the windward mark for the last time. The eighth leg is the same as the sixth leg, but will be followed by a short, tight reach to the finish. With the right wind conditions, the Ultimate 30s may try to carry their chutes all the way in.
Back on course, Team Duraflame now has developed a comfortable lead on Maryland Flyer, Moon Development, and Chattanooga Chew. Act Racing a dismal fifth.
Well, a little secret now. If you would like to sail well in a Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race, get a tip from Buddy Melgus here. That's what Russell Long did.
Yeah, before the start, Russell came over and we were standing right on the starting line. Jim, he said, Buddy, how would you play this? And I said, I think I'd get in along the seawall because the set of the line to the next mark, the seawall position was almost closer or the shortest distance to that mark. I said, start low, sail a fresher course to the wind, and you'll get there first. By golly, he did it.
Buddy, Team Duraflame continues their lead while Chew decides to tack first in an effort to clear their air.
The jib sheet's got to go off.
Flyer follows suit in a covering maneuver, a good tactic to stay between your competition and the wind. Obviously more concerned with Chew than Duraflame.
Flyer and Chew heading out on starboard, leaving the rest of the fleet on port. Act Racing follows the lead of Maryland Flyer and Chattanooga Chew and tacks to the center of the course.
Mine out, mine out.
Oh, the load one's on. Okay.
Team Duraflame and Moon Development are the only two left heading out to the right corner of the course along shore.
I see Flyer, I see Flyer.
From our vantage point, Jim, I see more wind on the right and certainly less spectator traffic.
Now keep your eyes open, look around the boat, make sure nothing's going to break anywhere.
Hey, Buddy, skippers Flo and Hobson running out of room now, getting to that port fetch line. Will make the first move.
We hit him hard here, Mark. Ready?
Here comes Chew. She's on the port tack now. Seem to be asleep on Flyer. There's no action, no tack yet.
Okay. I think we got a tack.
You want to tack?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize.
Here we go, tacking. Here we go, tacking now.
Okay, I gotta give you more warning there. Okay, speed up.
Flyer should have tacked to cover. Chew slips into clean air. A questionable decision by tactician Susan Taylor.
You have to have confidence or you're not going to do a good job. You have to go in there and make sure that you're going to make the decisions. If they're wrong, and you don't worry about them. If they're right, you know, you look great.
Team Duraflame continues to stretch out her lead with better upwind speed.
That upwind speed, Jim, is coming from a greater fore and aft rocker in the hull line. She's stable, upright, stiff, and yet she's sea kindly. She's not destroying the water as she goes through it. She's kind to it. Look at her go.
Okay, not too good, guys. My turn was a little slow. Let's get it moving.
Team Duraflame now reaches the ley line. Moon Development pressing in second.
Jim, it looks like Moon Development is shy of that fetch line. Is going to have to attack a couple of times.
These boats are like sailing oversized dinghies, and they don't provide all the luxuries and aids that a veteran big boat racer is used to.
You get to this point and it's all intuitive. There's no instruments, there's no boat speed indicator, there's nothing except the other boats and your experience that are telling you how the boat's going.
To the right about.
So it's Team Duraflame reaching the top mark. They lead the procession of Ultimate 30s onto the third leg.
Lean out, lean out. Lean in. I gotta come down hard.
These boys look pretty cool.
Hoist.
They've just come to town for the first time and joining these Ultimate 30s, and yet they're sailing this boat quite well. This is impressive.
Speed. Team Duraflame has plenty, about 13 knots.
We gotta come up.
Okay, let's sail conservative. We got a good
Jim,
lead.
these guys are sailing at about 120 degrees to the true wind, and that's why they're traveling at these great speeds. The jibe angle to the next mark is going to be very critical.
Jim, where's the next mark?
Down that corner.
Can we
It'll
carry
be a
the white
run.
chute to it?
Yeah, it's a run.
We will carry the chute to the next mark. Trim
Back in
chute
the
now. I
fleet,
think
Moon
we got it.
Development has a narrow edge over Maryland Flyer and an increasingly
We need a little
faster
more speed.
Chattanooga Chew, whose
Jib
taller
trim
rig
tight.
allows substantially more downwind sail area.
Trim main a little bit, just a touch.
What's going to be
I need a
interesting
little more
here,
height,
Jim,
and
is
that's all
who
I need.
selects that perfect jibe angle
We
to
need
the
height.
next mark.
High card. That's it. You're doing a great job. Great job. Oh, come on. We need a puff now. Please give us a puff. Please. Come on, baby. Come on, Lord. We were good this week. Give us a puff. We need the help. Come on. We stayed in every night. Give us a puff. Come on, baby. Help us out. Can't let Chattanooga lay that mark. Come on. Give us some wind. Come on, baby.
Baird's obviously praying for a puff to get him down to the mark for inside right-of-way position over Flyer.
Heading down, trying to keep Flyer and Chew from getting inside before they jibe.
Okay? The mark is the orange mark over there.
Tactics, Jim, are going to be very important. These kids got to keep their head out of the boat, forward, position it long before it happens.
These three remain in tight formation as they round Mark 3.
Jim, though the fourth leg is a square
Take them
run,
up when you can.
these boats will stay on the starboard
that
jibe
all the way
until
out
they
to the
can make a
inside the
perfect port tack fetch to this fourth mark.
Us. Jive when you like.
Ready to jibe. Here we go. Coming up. Little weight. There we go. Nice jibe. There,
Russell and
fellas.
his crew
Way
jibe to
correct.
port and are now headed back to the Milwaukee waterfront, while the others continue on starboard, past where Team Duraflame just jibed, looking for a faster angle to the mark.
Jim, there's no question Duraflame is protecting the left side of the course, so she has inside at the fourth mark.
Maryland Flyer and Moon
Take 'em
Development
up when
jibe
you
together, but Maryland Flyer recovers
Use that
faster,
main all
giving
the
them
way
the
out,
edge
then
they
you
need
just
to get
ride
out
the
in
chute.
front of Moon Development for the first time in the race.
Jim, that's Flyer's experience showing up right away and crew
Go,
support.
let it go.
They're doing a hell of a job.
Okay, it's a little dirty air.
Trim everything. Let's get some much power on.
Look at that nice quiet
Trying,
boat.
buddy. Minute I
She's
get going.
sailed to perfection
Trying
by
to
a
get down
well-trained
on 'em.
crew. Sails trimmed perfectly on her design line. She's flying, Jim.
So Buddy Chattanooga Chew, having jibed earlier, now seems to have established a significant lead over the two boats it trailed only a minute before.
It looks to me like Duraflame has missed her jibe angle completely. She sailed too high on the port jibe. Now she's coming back on a starboard jibe and trying to sail square to maintain her lead.
Up here. We need more speed.
It isn't happening. There goes Chew across her bow.
Chew goes screaming by Team
We got him now,
Duraflame for the
baby.
first lead
Keep it
change
trimmed.
of the race. Chew carrying those larger sails, sailing a lower and faster
Windward
line to the
down.
mark.
Are we here? Yep. Ready to jibe.
Those jibe angles we talked about, Jim, here they come. Right there. They hit it perfect. Oh, we're going to lose a crew member. I wonder when that was going to happen. That guy stepping lightly around the backstay.
That was tactician Jim Hammett. He's okay, but while Team Duraflame was jibing twice and had a man in the drink, Moon Development and Maryland Flyer slipped ahead.
And there's a perfect instance, Jim, where we
Get
did
set,
not get
ready
our
for
head
the
out in
drop,
front of
get
the
in
boat.
position.
Duraflame did
Drop,
not position
drop,
her boat
drop,
properly.
drop.
She's gone from first to fourth.
Chew rounds the fourth mark first, followed by Maryland Flyer.
Coming up.
Good job, Jim.
And as the parade continues, Moon Development in the third spot. Team Duraflame, remember, they were the leader around all three of the previous marks. They're now in the fourth spot. Act Racing was a dismal fifth. They're still fifth, But after a big move, they join the fleet, and they're definitely still in the hunt.
As we welcome you back to the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race, you've seen a dramatic change in the lead. Chew going around that bottom mark in front. What happened?
Well, Russell Long and Duraflame missed the jibe angle completely, has gone from first to fourth. Chattanooga Chew, on the other hand, hit it perfect and has now gone into the lead.
So, Buddy, as they head up the fifth leg to the windward mark, we see a complete reversal of the procession from the field of five the first time they raced this leg.
Yes, and Mark Plow is sailing for the dollars now. He's out front where he really likes to be. He's very strong when he's there, too, Jim. He's a great defender. Hey, how about that? There goes Flyer. She's going out to the left side of the course again. Here we got a port starboard situation coming up.
Martha, give us a little jib sheet. Oh, tack, 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 tack.
Obviously, Ed Baird did not see Flyer until much too late. It's a scramble. He's in trouble now. He's going to get run over by Flyer.
Flag! Trim in, trim in, trim
And there goes Chew. She, too, tacking out to the center of the race course, protecting her position.
And, hey, it's opening the door for Duraflame to hit that right side again. I like her position. Come on, make a decision. Let's go. Yes or no? We got to do something here.
Buddy, a little indecision again by tactician Susan Taylor. Remember what happened earlier?
That's right. That's right. They're not attacking. They're not going to win this race unless they attack. They got to go after Chew.
Exactly, Buddy. And finally, Flyer, remembering how advantageous the right side of the course had been earlier, follows Team Duraflame's lead. Likewise, Chew, protecting, is rolled over back onto port.
Yeah, and Chew's sitting right on Flyer, stopping Flyer, giving the open gate to Duraflame. Let's see how she's going to perform in that right corner.
We're back in first place. See if I can hang
Hey, Jim, look at that. They say they're in first place. What do you think? Oh, look at that. They are in first place. Those two tacks to the left side of the course really hurt Chew and Flyer. Now they've got to dig out of a bad position.
Backing now.
So Team Duraflame moves back into the lead, looking over their shoulder now as the rest of the fleet chases them. On the lay line, they decide to tack again. Success for Russell Long comes from a total team effort, a result of interaction between him and his veteran crew.
I like that kind of freewheeling style, and I like a lot of people talking. I like that kind of chatter because there's information in that chatter, so long as it's constructive chatter. And occasionally, we need to quiet down and concentrate. You know, I just tell everyone to shut up and quiet down, and then we race real fast. But, you know, sometimes you need that little hothouse of intellectual activity taking place to allow you to get to the next level.
What do you think?
At the next mark, it's still Team Duraflame. And after they round that mark, Russell Long sets his big chute in front of Chew, trying to eliminate the advantage Chew had off the wind earlier in the race.
I think that'll do it too, Jim. You know, that fourth leg was almost her downfall with that small chute.
Set it. Hoist it, hoist it.
And, Buddy, in the battle for third, they've flip-flopped. Moon Development now slips ahead of Maryland Flyer.
It'll go around. There it goes. It'll go around.
Everybody out. Height.
There it is.
Flyer's sailing higher right now. She's dragging her rack. She's trying to get over the top of Moon Development.
And on the sixth leg, Team Duraflame continues to lead. Chew's in the second spot. Then it's Moon Development, Maryland Flyer, and Ack Racing brings up the rear. Welcome back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the city of festivals. We're at the McKinley Marina, a lovely lakeside natural amphitheater, where hundreds of thousands have gathered on this Labor Day weekend for the Miller Maritime Festival. And they've gathered also to witness the third stop of the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race Circuit. Right now, my sidekick, Buddy Melgus, with our host and his good friend.
Thanks, Jim. I'm here with a good friend from the state of Wisconsin, Governor Tommy Thompson.
Hi, buddy. How are you? What a great day.
Isn't it perfect? And what a great thing we're having here with this Ultimate Yacht Race. It's super. And what a great front yard.
Well, this is typical Wisconsin, and if all those visitors that we have here watching the sailing races today can only find that this is what we have all the time in Wisconsin. We'll have a lot of them coming back. It's a great day and a great on a great lake.
I need a little more hiking. That's all
We're back on course now on the 6th leg. Team Duraflame continues to lead over second place Chattanooga Chew.
Well, let's see now. Chew had the lead, lost it again to Russell Long. How did he recapture the lead? And maybe did Chew get a little too conservative?
Yes, very definitely. Chew was conservative with Flyer. Went with Flyer instead of splitting herself with Duraflame. Duraflame had complete freedom to sail the right-hand side of the course in fresher and stronger winds, and therefore looks terrific.
Chew much faster with a shootout. Can she catch up?
Well, I don't know. Russell's changed spinnakers to his orange and yellow sail. We'll have to see.
The Ultimate 30s now almost halfway to the 7th mark.
Yes, Jim, and as they race across this leg, at this mark, the spinnakers will be dropped. They'll round up onto a port tack fetch on this last windward leg.
I see the starting line. You're aimed at that, so it must be up.
No, wait. Flatten the boat, Dave. You got to get that rack out of the water. You just got to. Oh, shoot. Okay, Chew is going faster than we are, and lower. Let's come down.
Despite Duraflame's increased speed due to a larger chute, Chew continues to erode their lead with their massive sail area.
The boat is so overpowered. I mean, you go upwind and you just lug sails to the weather mark because you cannot put enough sail area up downwind. The boats are so light and so fast that I don't care what you throw up, you just go faster. And if you can get to the weather mark with it, you're going to go faster downwind.
While Chew chases Duraflame, we move back into the fleet, the battle for third. And there, Maryland Flyer making a move inside again on Moon Development.
Not going to go through us down there, though.
That's fine.
Well, they might not go through you, Ed, but they're going to have the inside overlap at the next mark, and that's as good as going by.
Any suggestions, Susan?
Keep working it, you guys. It's just important that we keep this overlap.
Maryland Flyer must maintain this overlap if she hopes to pass Moon Development at the mark. To do this, she's going to have to work every wave, watch the wind, and take advantage of Mother Nature.
That pressure falls to the tactician and the skipper.
You've always got to look, 20 seconds ahead and try and feel what's going on. You can feel, sometimes when a puff of wind comes down, you can feel it, the cold air hitting your neck, and then you know that you've got to maybe bear off a bit, ease the sheets a little bit, and try and make the boat go a little bit quicker through that puff.
Back to the leaders now. Team Duraflame and Chattanooga Chew continue to race to the 6th mark.
Yes, Jim, and it seems now that Duraflame has equaled Chew's speed. Maybe she'll be able to maintain that lead into the mark.
But they're pushing us. You guys are going to have to be good with this one.
Pushing. They're taking the chute down early. They're going for a smooth mark rounding.
Drop it down. Go, Rob! Go for it. They're counting on us to mess it up. We'll slow down the boat. Up the main a little bit. I don't mind if we're going
Notice that technique. He dropped the windward rack in the water to slow the boat down.
Let's buy time.
He's called 2 boat lengths rule. In other words, Chew cannot come inside once inside that 2 boat length circle.
Here we go.
A bit of a break for Team Duraflame as they jive around that 6th mark. Chew continues to trail, but Buddy, they're drawing ever closer.
Come on, Dave, go.
Yes, Jim, but this is the 7th leg of the course. It's a windward leg. It's when Duraflame will be at her very best. She's going to be taking on Chew where she's in an overpowered situation, meaning simply that she's got too much sail area. Chew just doesn't point as high as Duraflame.
He's out. He's out.
Meanwhile, Mr. Melgus, Moon Development has allowed Maryland Flyer to gain an inside overlap, which could cost them the 3rd spot around that 6th mark.
It looks like it's happening, Jim. Flyer's coming up on the inside, using the waves, using the wind.
Drop it! No, Ron! Don't go in there!
Pull the chute down. Let's get it down. Let's go. No overlap! No overlap!
Hey, Jim, that's a surprise. Moon Development has broken the overlap with Flyer. Flyer's going to have to go out around.
Meanwhile, Ed Baird and crew aboard Moon Development dropped their chute into the drink.
Jim, I wonder how many alewives they got in that thing.
That's Zenda Ease, Zenda, Wisconsin, Buddy's hometown. A little Melgus Ease. Explain.
Jim, that's a small fish here in the lakes that we always throw back.
Watch this guy. Come on.
Come inside him, Mike.
I'm never going to make it inside, Susan. Here we go, trim on, just keep the power on.
Susan wanted Mike Hobson to cut inside Ed Baird at the mark, but he's elected to go outside. That's probably a pretty good move because Flyer can crack her sheets and get more speed quickly, breaking free of Moon Development's cover.
Moon Development points higher, advantage Maryland Flyer. 6 legs down, 2 to go. Team Duraflame stretching out her lead. Chattanooga Chew is second, then Moon Development and Maryland Flyer. Ack Racing somewhere back in the horizon. On the 7th leg now, upwind, and Team Duraflame stretching out their lead over Chattanooga Chew.
She looks good going through the water, Jim. Her sails are set perfect. The crew is handling the boat very well. Surprisingly so, since they've been together such a short time.
You guys are looking around the race course. That's the tactician's job.
Hey guys, it's the same set, same chute, same leg coming up.
For Chattanooga's crew, this leg cannot end quickly enough.
They are, guys, doing a good job. I know it hurts. 30,000 more don't hurt either. Come on, baby.
The design, though untested, is the most high-tech here in Milwaukee, and a lot of the other Ultimate 30 camps are watching their success.
Everything's untested right now. We don't have enough time on the water. We don't know what's going to break. I mean, that's one of the problems. You spend some of your time worrying about what's going to happen next. You don't really know. I mean, you have to understand, we're going into new territory in sailing with these kinds of boats.
You know, I think Russell's really opened a window here in design capabilities or possibilities, for that matter, for people to come into the class and be competitive. There's a lot
Nice
of
work,
ideas.
everybody.
Look at the shape of these boats.
Good job,
Different
guys.
though they
Good
are,
job.
they all compete at the same level.
Gotta roll these guys. Can't let them get through us.
Ease that out hole, little, I think, don't you?
Out, hole out.
Ease the out hole. More. Get that wrinkle out of
Oh,
it.
we need power. We really need power.
The battle continues on for the 3rd spot, and Buddy, Moon Development has dropped down on Flyer now to keep a closer cover.
That's right. Also to prevent Flyer from tacking when they approach the windward mark.
As Ack Racing rounds the 6th mark, almost a full leg behind, Jonathan McKee at the helm, a lot of One-Design 14 sailors on board. Little or no Ultimate 30 experience, but Buddy, you're not a big believer in their sails.
No, Jim, I'm not. They're twisted much too much aloft. They need the shears and the needle and thread to put them into speed.
Speaking of speed, that's all Team Duraflame has shown as they round that 7th mark comfortably in front.
He's the man. I'm coming down hard.
Certainly, if Russell Long had eyes in the back of his head, he'd be quite scared about losing his tactician, Jim. Every time he tacks, he seems tangled in those running back
Wait in
sticks.
a little.
I don't know, Jim. It's got to be all that downwind speed that she has. I see no other tactical move that she can make other than just pure speed.
Tight.
Now, as Chew approaches the 7th mark, look out, they almost collide with Duraflame.
Hey, Russell should have really used his starboard tack advantage in that position, Jim. He could have driven Chew right off the race course.
Maybe, given Chew's downwind speed, something he'll later
Hey, now,
regret
you know
he
that
didn't
tack line
do.
might get hooked up underneath the jib, right?
Chew's tack at the mark. She's immediately on the spinnaker
Oh, you're high
hired.
up a little bit.
She's looking for every second she can get, but just be careful, boys. Don't trip her. Just an average set, I'd say.
The battle for 3rd continues. Moon Development rounds mark 7.
Coming up here, we got to be conservative in this last section. Yeah, we don't really have a choice. Okay.
Jim, these guys look really calm, cool, and collected. They certainly have everything from this boat they expected.
Meanwhile, Buddy, Chew's crew has one last chance to take advantage of the larger sail area downwind.
And she looks good going through the water, Jim. Her bow is a bit further down, not dragging her transom like Duraflame. And they have only this last 8th leg to sail to the mark. They'll jibe and have a very short fetch to the finish. Carrying the chute here is Chew's only chance to win.
Meanwhile, back to the battle for 3rd and 4th. Moon in the 3rd spot, but watch that hard-charging red boat from Maryland. On board, the frustration very evident. That shadow of Flyer spells doom for Moon.
Hiking hard now. We're almost touching them with our sail.
Flyer definitely has the overlap and can carry it all the way to the mark, Jim.
Team Duraflame approaching the last mark and the short reach to the finish and the short reach to $50,000.
Drop the jib. Yeah, put a rack under. That'll slow us.
Buddy, they've lost a lot of time now with a very conservative takedown.
Maybe too conservative, Jim. They're very slow.
Maybe looking over their shoulder, because here now comes a hard-charging Chattanooga Chew.
Chew's only chance is to carry this chute all the way to the finish. She's got to have a perfect jibe or Plo's in trouble. Plo's coming through a little slow, Jim, but now I think it's going to fill. Yeah, there it comes. Maybe, just maybe, he's got it.
Freight train for your love!
Just a couple hundred yards to the finish now as Team Duraflame cruises home comfortably in front. Meanwhile, back aboard Chattanooga Chew, the crew and their skipper frustrated. The angle, too narrow, too tight. They can't carry the chute all the way home.
All right!
Meanwhile, the Chew crew started fourth, led once, and wound up finishing second. And now, Buddy, back to the battle for third. Ed Baird and Moon Development, Mike Hobson and Maryland Flyer.
Okay, let's take down. Ready? Take down now. Take down now.
Baird's taking his chute down early, Jim. Obviously, he wants to maneuver inside of Maryland Flyer at this mark.
Ready. Okay, go, down.
He's making a mistake, Jim. He's too close to Flyer. He should have been further outside.
Come on up, right to the pin. Come on up a little bit more.
Had Baird been further outside, he could have chased up over the transom of Flyer right at the mark and maybe had a shot and enough speed to carry him over the top.
So, great tactics in the stretch drive for Maryland Flyer and skipper Mike Hobson. So far this year, the team from Annapolis, a first in San Francisco, a second at Corpus Christi, and a third here in Milwaukee. And for newcomer Ed Baird, a hard-fought fourth. For Team Duraflame, they'll divvy up $50,000. They finished first. So the final results are in of this 1989 Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race here in Milwaukee. Team Duraflame wins, Chattanooga Chew the second spot, Maryland Flyer finished third, Moon Development fourth, and Jonathan McKee and ACK Racing fifth. You'll see more of Jonathan and his brother Charlie when we come back with the Johnstone One-Design 14.
The most exhilarating sailing that I've ever done. The water's flying in your face, the wind's throwing you back. The acceleration of the boat is, you're just trying to hang on and keep going.
It's a bit like riding a bike down a hill without any brakes. There's no stopping it.
Magnificent conditions here on the shores of Lake Michigan, but with the building breeze this afternoon, the advantage the lighter crew of the McKee brothers may have had has been eroded a little to allow the heavier crews a very definite chance this afternoon, such as the top money winners on the tour so far, Stu Johnston and Cam Lewis. Will Bayliss and Steve Rosenberg must be a real threat now, and from down under in Sydney, Australia, Bobby Wilmot and Chris Buckland for Team Continental. Anticipation and expectation amongst the big crowd on the waterfront here in Milwaukee for the Johnstone One-Design 14s. Now down to leeward here, this is Team High Seas with the grey etching on the spinnaker. Cameron Lewis and Stu Johnston have got off to an excellent start, but an even better start, the purple and white spinnaker, is Peter Eastman and Peter Johnstone. So now they're heading off to the first mark, and there's a fight between the Johnstone brothers. Who's going to get there first? It's Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman, followed then by Stu Johnstone and Cameron Lewis. Third around will be the McKee brothers from Seattle, followed then by Bobby Wilmot from Australia. With 4 legs to go, the fleet now has the wind on their back, heading towards the leeward mark. Then it's one more time into the eye of the wind, and another hot run before the short leg to the finish. Now into the spinnaker run, and Jonathan and Charlie McKee are setting their red spinnaker to harness the southeasterly. Cam and Stu second, Peter Johnston and Peter Eastman third. As these world-class crews sail across the face of the wind, they're really turning on the speed, hitting 12 to 14 knots and going faster than the speed of the wind at 10 knots.
If you get out in front and get moving, you can just get your boat flying and you can take off to a big lead, and it's hard for anybody in the pack to catch up because they have to deal with the other boats around. Because if you're in the lead, you're just looking at the wind, trying to keep your boat going at maximum speed.
So coming to mark number 6, 3 legs to go, and the blowtorch goes on the 2 leading crews. The McKee brothers are dropping their spinnaker. They're being a little cautious, but meanwhile Cam and Stu are carrying their spinnaker right up to the mark. They're going to try and sail round the McKee brothers. They've jibed, they're carrying the spinnaker well, but they do look as though they're sagging down to leeward. I don't think they can carry it like that. Back to third and fourth, another tremendous battle going on as Bobby Wilmot and Team Continental tried to cut inside Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman, but the Australian crew weren't able to do that, so they've got to go round outside now. Their rivals, and they're currently holding 4th position as they go back on the fetch to the next mark. Back to the leaders, and the McKee brothers have extended their advantage. Cam and Stu, by trying to carry that spinnaker, have paid the penalty, and they've sagged down to leeward that distance as the McKee brothers worked out to windward and have really got control of this race now as they're closing to the next mark. Coming to the final mark in the race, and Jonathan and Charlie McKee have really responded well today in this race in Milwaukee. Jonathan McKee, the Olympic gold medalist in 1984 out of Long Beach, and Charlie McKee won the 470 bronze medal in Korea in 1988. They really have sailed a magnificent race as they head to the finish. Stu Johnston and Cameron Lewis in the unaccustomed position of being second for them. After winning in San Francisco and Corpus Christi, they really will be ruining those mistakes on the 2 tacks when the McKees pass them. Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman in third position, and a fine performance by the Australians Bobby Wilmot and Chris Buckland in their first Ziploc, rounding 4th. But the eyes of the Milwaukee waterfront are focused on this pair. Charlie McKee out on the wire for his brother Jonathan as they're powering down to the finish. Set to take $6,000 first prize. There's the gun, and the McKee brothers win the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race in the Johnstone One-Design 14. As well they might wave to the crowd. Well done, Jonathan and Charlie, winners of the Ziploc Ultimate. Second place to Team High Seas, Stu Johnston and Cam Lewis, $2,500. So they stay top money winner on the Ziploc Tour for the year. Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman third.
And so the results are final now in the Johnstone One-Design 14s. Team Ziploc finishes first and earns $6,000. Team High Seas second, the Johnstone Eastman team is third, and Team Continental finishes up fourth. The crowds gather at McKinley Marina Park for a close to this Miller Maritime Festival, the awards presentation, and of course the cashing of the check. The McKee brothers, Charlie and Jonathan, earned $6,000. And Russell Long in Team Duraflame earns $50,000. Be sure to join the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race Tour next spring when we travel to the beautiful North Shore of Oahu, where our hosts, the Kiwilima Resorts, the Turtle Bay Hilton, and Asahi Jukin USA play host to the first event of the 1990 Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race Tour. For Buddy Melgus and Peter Montgomery, I'm Jim Kelly. Good night, everybody. Welcome back to the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race. We're in San Francisco Bay, flanked by the famed Golden Gate Bridge, and Alcatraz, closed now, but once home to America's most hardened criminals. And the third largest tourist attraction in this city by the bay, Pier 39, home of the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race.
Catching. Time, Traeger.
119. It looks like it's going to be just about right, so you might have some time to kill.
Stand by, y'all. We're going to come up here and face plant these guys. Stand by. Ready? Tack it. 30 seconds.
Ready about? Hike into the tack. Ready?
go for it. Go, Bubba, now. Start going. Go for it.
Now 20 seconds from the start of the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race.
15, go! 14, 13, 12.
11. Go up for it, Russell.
7, 6.
Trim! Please get speed on.
It looks like Blue Bayou will be over early. Blue Bayou is definitely over early, so it's Flyer, Chew and Dickies all with clean starts, and disaster for the boys from Corpus Christi, forced to restart.
Got attack, we got attack. Ready? Attacking now. Okay, we'll clear ourselves.
So Blue Bayou has imposed their own handicap, forced to restart off the pier.
Okay, guys, let's get right back in this thing.
And now they're charging after the leaders, who are a third of the way down the breakwater. Flyer has a narrow lead over Chattanooga Choo Choo, with Dickies third.
Awesome start, you guys. Great job.
The second stop on the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race Tour this year, Gary and I traveled down to Corpus Christi, Texas for some wild rides. The sailing absolutely spectacular, and to be honest, I thought for a while you and I were back in Fremantle, Western Australia, and the Fremantle Doctor was blowing on in. It was that stiff a breeze, that great was the sailing. We had a thermal condition.
Well, Jim, a thermal is where you have the hot air rising off the Texas plains and then the cool breeze coming in off the Gulf, and hence we had a lot of wind and a lot of great sailing.
Some rocky rides for a couple of the Ziploc Ultimate 30s. Who would have the advantage? Maryland Flyer, of course, had won previously in San Francisco, but keep an eye on Russ Silvestri's boat. Team Dickies had the heavier boat, a little bit of an advantage.
Feels really fast.
Russ Silvestri's reputation out on the water has been called by some cutthroat.
Just don't fail us now, boat.
I asked the Team Dickies skipper what words he would use.
I always kind of think of myself as ruthless sometimes, you know. I mean, sometimes it gets me into trouble, but, you know, ideally I think, you know, kind of ruthless. We get them down and we're going to keep on hitting. I made the analogy the other day that we're kind of like Mike Tyson, but our shoelaces are tied together because our boat's a little bit slower than the other guys. But hopefully today it'll be Destruction Derby and we'll be able to come through unscathed.
As the second leg began, Team Dickies was in a comfortable lead. The battle was for second between Flyer and Chew. Into the second turn, Flyer has gained on Chew and tries to cut on the inside and make a fast turn, but the crew is caught off guard on the windward side, making them almost capsize.
When you're sailing, steering, sail trim, and crew weight must all be balanced at the same time. Hobson oversteered and the boat is out of sync. On board, it was fast crew work that saved the day. Susan Taylor and several other crew members jumped to the middle of the boat. Other members of the crew were still submerged in water. This cost Flyer about 6 boat lengths of distance to Chew.
An overlap now between Chew and Flyer. Flyer with a better speed. Chew is watching Flyer, laying the line.
Often in sailing, it's easy to catch up distance, but it's hard to get around another boat. Passing is one of the toughest things in this sport.
Keep our bow even with these guys.
Moving real nice now. We got height, guys. Now we're going.
They're attacking right now. Are they on ley line? Are we going to cross them?
Flyer at the bottom of the screen is on starboard tack and has the right of way. So Chew at the top of the screen is obligated to stay clear. Chew makes a maneuver to avoid a collision. Flyer has a lot more speed and sails right over the top to take the lead.
Ease a jib, ease a jib.
Ease the
Just a couple inches.
Ease the main.
With that speed, Flyer moves into the second spot ahead of Chew for the first time since the first leg of this $50,000 finale. Meanwhile, Dickies around that windward mark for the last time. Team Dickies seems unbeatable. Only a breakdown now stands between them and almost certain victory. With that burst into the second spot around the windward mark for the last time, Flyer chased by Chew.
High card. Here we go, guys.
Chew snags the anchor line of the buoy on a rack. This slows Chew down further. It's a big mistake. He simply cut it too close.
With the heavier keel and the smaller sail area, Dickies was unstoppable. Part of the great excitement of racing here in Corpus Christi, the huge crowd showing their support for the Ultimate 30 cruise as they headed for our Kiwi colleague Peter Montgomery at the finish.
Just 200 yards to go now for Team Dickies, who are so tantalizingly close to that $50,000 first prize, and they've been given a fantastic reception by the folks of Corpus Christi. So it was their teamwork today that really paid off, and they sailed like champions as they're set to take the gun here in the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race. What a reception they've been given by Corpus Christi.
Peter, Jim, it's a real thrill winning any race, but when you have an appreciative crowd cheering, winning is even more special. A friendly wave to the second place finisher's flyer. Sailors usually play their sport far away from shore, and there are rarely any spectators. But the crowds here in Corpus Christi have added to the intensity of the racing. The sailors are loving it, and so are the fans.
For Chu, her second straight third-place finish. Likewise, Blue Bayou's been fourth now, 2 regattas in a row. Flyers and Dickies have reversed roles after San Francisco. They've flip-flopped in the standings here in Corpus Christi with the heavier conditions and rockier seas. When we come back, a new team, a new boat, and a new skipper, all taking on the fresh water of Lake Michigan as Milwaukee welcomes the Ultimate Yacht Race.
For the third stop on the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race Tour this year, Buddy Melgus and I traveled to the city of festivals, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, we had some old familiar faces. Mark Plow was there with Chattanooga Chew. Mike Hobson was also there with Maryland Flyer. But the introduction of a brand new racing team, Team Duraflame, a new rock star in the sailing world to keep an eye on, Russell Long. He brought a brand new boat with a revolutionary design.
Seconds to the start now, the field of 5 tightly bunched.
At the line, Team Duraflame pulls away to avoid crossing early.
So, Buddy, it's Moon Development and Team Duraflame with the better start, slugging it out now and working their way up to almost 10 knots of boat speed.
Nice start, guys. Hiking hard. Get that jib on. I think you can trim it
Team
with your
Duraflame
hand.
now powering up and driving for clear air.
Keep it flat. We got to bust out right here, fellas.
As the fleet approaches that first
Keep it
mark,
flat,
Team
baby.
Duraflame seems to have worked their way out of the pack into the lead.
No room. Let's get ready to go up. Okay, on the Don't let me heel over, Dave. Here we go. Don't let me heel. Okay, trim on.
Leading up the first beat, Duraflame and skipper Russell Long. Long would break on the national sailing scene during the 1980 America's Cup Trials as skipper of Clipper, stablemate to Ted Turner's Courageous. Drawing on years of sailing big boats, Long's latest effort, an Ultimate 30, sponsored by Duraflame. His crew, made up of sailors from his Maxi Ondine, and they would bring a new technological edge to their program.
We're going into new territory in sailing with these kinds of boats. The Ultimate Yacht Race represents really the top level of racing in the country, maybe even the world right now.
The design is a modified Moore 30, but with project manager Larry Tuttle and Long's board sailing experience, they've brought innovative concepts to the boat.
We've got some real technicians on board. I mean, Larry Tuttle and Sandy Warwick, these guys are rocket scientists. And it's fun talking with them and really picking their brains because they have this incredibly rational approach to the sport and to trying to make boats go faster. They have tremendous technical understanding and theoretical understanding.
But in professional sailing, Long also knows the value of bringing a business sense to the program.
I went into this project trying to make a cost-effective program because I don't see any reason to do it if you can't make it a moneymaker for yourself, or at least break even. We got into this boat for about $50,000, which is half the price that other people are paying. And I think that's in itself a major coup. I think that's going to bring other people into the series.
Their program is paying off handsomely now as they lead the more experienced fleet of Ultimate 30s here in Milwaukee.
To the next mark. Trim, shoot now. I think we got it.
Jive when you like.
Ready to jive. Jive.
Russell and his crew jive to port and are now headed back to the Milwaukee waterfront, while the others continue on starboard, past where Team Duraflame just jibed, looking for a faster angle to the mark. Maryland Flyer and Moon Development jibe together, but Maryland Flyer recovers faster, giving them the edge they need to get out in front of Moon Development for the first time in the race. Chattanooga Chew, having jibed earlier, now seems to have established a significant lead over the two boats it trailed only a minute before.
It looks to me like Duraflame has missed her jibe angle completely in trying to sail square to maintain her lead.
Up here, we need more speed.
It isn't happening. There goes Chew across your bow.
Chew goes screaming by Team Duraflame for the first lead change of the race. Chew carrying those larger sails, sailing a lower and faster line to the mark.
Ready to jibe.
Those jibe angles we talked about, Jim, here they come. Right there, they hit it perfect. Oh, we're going to lose a crew member. I wonder when that was going to happen, that guy stepping lightly around the backstay.
That was tactician Jim Hammett. He's okay, but while Team Duraflame was jibing twice and had a man in the drink, Moon Development and Maryland Flyer slipped ahead.
And there's a perfect instance, Jim, where we did not get our head out in front of the boat. Duraflame did not position her boat properly. She's gone from first to fourth.
Finally, for the first time in any race so far this season, Mark Plow and Chattanooga Chew have taken the lead.
Hey, how about that? There goes Flyer. She's going out to the left side of the course again. Here we got a port starboard situation coming up.
Martha, give us a little jib sheet. Oh, tack, 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 tack.
Obviously, Ed Baird did not see Flyer until much too late. It's a scramble. He's in trouble now. He's going to get run over by Flyer.
Flag! Trim in, trim in, trim
And there goes Chew. She, too, tacking out to the center of the race course, protecting her position.
And, hey, it's opening the door for Duraflame to hit that right side again. I like her position.
Chew, more concerned with Flyer, follows her lead. Perhaps a mistake. Duraflame regains the lead, sailing off on her own. Now the last reach, and a conservative takedown at the last mark.
Drop the jib. Yeah, put a rack under, that'll slow us.
Buddy, they've lost a lot of time now with a very conservative takedown.
Maybe too conservative, Jim. They're very slow.
Maybe looking over their shoulder, because here now comes a hard-charging Chattanooga Chew.
Chew's only chance is to carry this chute all the way to the finish. She's got to have a perfect jibe or Plow's in trouble. Plow's coming through a little slow, Jim, but now I think it's going to fill. Yeah, there it comes. Maybe, just maybe, he's got it.
Freight train for your love!
Just a couple hundred yards to the finish now as Team Duraflame cruises home comfortably in front. Meanwhile, back aboard Chattanooga Chew, the crew and their skipper frustrated. The angle, too narrow, too tight. They can't carry the chute all the way home.
All right!
So Duraflame, the new boat with the new design and a new skipper as far as Ultimate 30s, win in their very first try. For Chew, another second. Flyer, the first to pass over $100,000 in earnings. Coming up, the Ultimate 30s travel to Annapolis, Maryland, America's sailing capital. Welcome back to Annapolis Harbor, known internationally for its annual boat show. And now, backdrop for the final event of the 1989 Ziploc Ultimate Tour. On site, host Maryland Flyer with two familiar faces, Mike Hobson and Chattanooga Chew veteran Bill Ziegler. That duo now set to do battle. Kind of a match race, really, Gary, between Maryland Flyer and Mike Hobson. Mike, the leading money winner on the circuit this year, and a bit of a newcomer in Bill Ziegler, who, hey, he thinks he's onto something.
Well, Bill Ziegler has taken the basic Flyer design, changed the hull shape a little bit with this brand new boat he has, little less sail area, and he hopes that these design innovations will make them faster, so it's going to be a good test. We have the proven boat, Flyer, and we have a new boat with a lot of innovations. It's going to be a good contest.
New boats, of course, are prone to breakdown. Chew's practice session would cause a break in the shroud tang fitting at the top of the mast, forcing a delay in racing. Mike Hobson and Maryland Flyer would still take advantage of the great conditions for a speed trial session. Hobson's vocation, Annapolis spar maker. Mike's a technician, not a rock star.
Well, I'm probably a lot different to a skipper to some of the other skippers around because I come from such a naval architecture background. I'm more of a technician than... luckily, I am somewhat of a natural sailor at the same time, but I'm probably not the same caliber as some of the other guys that have come into this field. We started off designing a boat which we had absolutely no idea how it was going to perform because you're starting off with a completely clean sheet of paper. You just got a basic set of rules that you've got to design a boat around. You just hope you're going the right way. And we basically ended up with a boat that was very functional, it's fast, and it still is competitive. It's probably the most competitive boat out there now.
Maryland Flyer might be the fastest boat. Mike and his team, the oldest and most experienced as far as Ultimate 30s are concerned. But racing these screaming boats can still be humbling. The race had to be postponed a day to repair Chu's mast. With the new rig in place and hopes of a freshening breeze, Ziegler and Chu would head out again to the race course, set just outside Annapolis Harbor, to test again his new innovation against the proven winner Maryland Flyer. Chu, almost a carbon copy of Flyer, but with much lighter materials and a new sail plan.
Our rig is a little bit shorter than any of the other 30s out there right now, and carrying a very long boom, very large roach mainsail. We're preparing ourselves to sail in places where it gets very windy, and this may not be one of them, but the usual sites are.
Finally, the race underway, and on the first leg, Maryland Flyer keeps a close textbook cover on Chattanooga Chu. Ziegler and crew would throw tack after tack at Hobson. Finally, Hobson would be forced to tack away in his search for clear air. Once split, the two would continue to zigzag up the race course on their own as the Chesapeake breeze continues to lighten. Chu would protect the right side of the course. Meanwhile, Maryland Flyer sailed up the left side. At the first mark, Flyer edges out Chu with a lee bow maneuver, gaining an inside advantage as they round. There was barely a breeze, not ideal conditions for these Ultimate 30s, especially for Bill Ziegler's Chattanooga Chu, designed for heavier winds and much rougher seas. Maryland Flyer would go on to stretch out an even greater lead on Ziegler and Chu. For Hobson, another win to add to his already impressive credentials for 1989. For Ziegler, his first competitive start in the newest Ultimate 30 just off the assembly line. For Flyer, a 59-second win over Chu. For Ziegler and the Chu crew, a frustrating second, even though they know their boat was designed for the heavier conditions in Hawaii that will kick off the 1990 Ultimate Tour. For Mike Hobson and crew, a big win. They are now the richest money winners on the pro sailing circuit this year. As we welcome you back, this was the mayhem on San Francisco Bay as the Johnstone One-Design 14s did battle. 14s had their origin back in the early 1900s to the west of England and made their North American debut back in the late 1930s. The Johnstone One-Design 14, a 14-foot two-person dinghy that screams speed, and sailing these 14-footers across the chop of San Francisco Bay, the hottest sailing talent and stars testing the professional waters for the very first time.
know, one of the highlights of the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race circuit this year has been the Johnstone One-Design 14s, a fleet of 10 boats, 2 men in each boat, skimming across the top of the water at breakneck speeds like a rock and roll concert. So strap on your seatbelt. Why? Let's join Gary.
Most great sailors started in a small boat like this one. Well, it's small, but there's a lot of high-tech equipment. One of the most high-tech things is this trapeze wire. The idea is to get the weight over the side to keep the boat in balance. To keep these boats stable, both skipper and crew hang from a wire extending from the top of the mast. This wire is attached by a hook to a harness worn around the waists of the sailors. These devices are called trapeze wires, and they're used on many high-performance small boats.
Hey, you look pretty good out there. What do you like about those Johnstone One-Design 14s?
Well, Jim, these are really good boats. First of all, they're boats that are not very expensive, and anybody can own and sail them. But more importantly, these boats are absolutely identical, so it's boat handling and tactics making the difference. But although it looked pretty smooth, I got to tell you, we did have a little incident.
A somewhat unceremonious dunking for my author, entrepreneur, sailing partner. Oh, yeah.
And so the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race One-Design 14 division is underway. The fleet of 6 off in a westerly 16-knot wind and a 4-knot tide. Team Ziploc with Stu Johnstone and Cam Lewis have the best start, well to windward of the rest of the fleet, with teams Pier 39 and Dickey's in close pursuit. The 6-team fleet stayed in close formation as the first leg progresses, and a tight race develops between Pier 39, Sea Ray, and Miller as they continue to lead inside of the course and out of the tide. Team Ziploc then sets the pace, heading out to the right side of the course, followed closely by Team Dickey's. As the fleet of Johnstone One-Design 14s approach that first mark, Team Ziploc enjoys a comfortable lead. Once around, Johnstone and Lewis are clear for the downhill run, and the field falls into tight formation. Rank and file, a freight train of One-Design 14s. Team Ziploc still with a comfortable lead. And the only sign of pressure, Team Pier 39 and Miller battling for a close second spot. Team Dickey's sits in the 4th position. And Sea Ray runs currently in 5th. Now at the bottom mark, Ziploc's lead has been cut down to just 6 seconds by brothers Kidd and Team Miller. The 2 brothers from Toronto were the only 2 giving any pressure to the veterans Johnstone and Lewis on the 3rd beat. But Pier 39 with the 2nd brother team of Jonathan and Charlie McKee are still hunting in a strong 3rd position. By the 5th and final mark, Team Ziploc has solidified its lead. The kids representing Team Miller, now at the top mark, blow their chances at a top 3 finish when they hit the mark and they're forced to re-round. With Team Miller out now, the door opened up for the rest of the fleet. In the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race, the One-Design 14s, the winner, Team Ziploc. Congratulations to Cam Lewis, one of the world's most renowned catamaran sailors, and his teammate Stu Johnstone, an ex-intercollegiate sailor of the year. The McKees, representing Team Pier 39, run into the 2nd spot. Team Dickey's finished up 3rd, and Sea Ray finished 4th in a tight finish.
A lot of crashing and burning in the Johnstone One-Design 14s as fatigue and wind take its toll. The results are final. Johnstone and Lewis split $6,000 for finishing 1st. The McKee brothers earning $2,500. Bayless and Brady finished 3rd. Coming up, the Johnstone One-Design 14s sail and scream across the whitecaps of Corpus Christi Bay, the wind blowing in excess of 30 knots. The Lone Star State, the next to welcome the Johnstone One-Design 14s. With the winds howling and warding small craft warnings, some concern as to the safety of the sailors. Capsizing expected, breakdowns probable. With the winds in excess of 30 knots, no room for error.
A good start is essential because the leaders sail in smooth water and clear wind, while the trailing boats are forced to sail in choppy water and disturbed wind, broken up by the leading boats.
Streaking toward that first mark, Team Dickey's in the lead with Will Bayless out of San Francisco and Steve Rosenberg out of Long Beach. Then the Englishman representing the Mountain Valley Water Racing team, Stanley and Hodgert. And finally, the Southwestern Bell Mobile Systems duo from California, Mark Sterrett and Tom Waldenleck.
Approaching the first turning mark, these boats are really screaming.
For Team Dickey's and skipper Will Bayless, the pre-start maneuvers worked.
Just going to go for it, win the start, take it from there. Won't have a boat speed problem, I don't think, in today's race, and don't make any mistakes, don't capsize, and we should be able to win the race.
The pairs of sailors racing these boats have to work together, trimming the sails and adjusting their weight on every wave and puff of wind.
And right there, the Englishman who won the International 14 World Team Championship in Japan and representing Mountain Valley Water, passing Team Dickey's. Bayless and Rosenberg into the second spot.
Both leading boats make a jibing maneuver to head for the first mark at the same time. Bayless and Rosenberg do a better job and reclaim the lead.
And now the Miller Draft duo doing a little drafting of their own. Watch Jonathan and Charlie McKee coming up on the inside and wrestling the lead from Team Dickey's.
Just as they approach the mark, there's a big shift in the wind. Dickey's on the left is having trouble jibing. They capsize. And so do the McKees in the middle. This is a disaster for these teams.
With Team Dickey's and Miller Draft in the drink, watch the Mountain Valley Water Racing team, the Englishmen, Stanley and Hodgert, threading their way ever so cautiously. And here comes Team Ziploc, Cam Lewis and Stu Johnstone.
There's carnage all over the race course. When you're sailing horizontal to the water, it's easy to become disoriented with your head bouncing in and out of every wave.
Team Ziploc with Cam Lewis and Stu Johnstone, the first to tack toward the weather mark, followed closely by the Englishmen, Stanley and Hodgert. Gary, teamwork here, very crucial. No time for mental mistakes.
We kind of have a motto where it's safety first when you go around the course in these conditions. And I think any of the top crews will share that same feeling because the boats are so tippy and so skitterish at those high speeds that one little minor mistake will cost you dearly.
So Team Ziploc now with Cam Lewis and Stu Johnstone extending their lead, followed by the Englishmen and the Mountain Valley Water Racing team of Stanley and Hodgert. The Swedes, Bergstrom and Gravar from San Francisco and Pier 39 are third, and then the Southwestern Bell Mobile Systems duo, Sterrett and Wandelek.
To sail these boats at peak speed, you must keep them level. If you get out of balance like the English do here, the boat slows down. Quick reaction to the gusting winds makes the difference in speed. The crews who have a lot of experience sailing together have a big advantage.
It's still Cam Lewis and Stu Johnstone in front. Stu's brother Peter, the builder of these One-Design 14. Why are these boats so fast?
They have a tremendous amount of sail area, nearly 500 square feet downwind and almost 200 square feet upwind. You combine that with an extremely light overall weight, where the crews themselves actually weigh more than the boat, and you've got a very fast combination there.
Would you say that these sailors have to be a lot like gymnastic stars?
You have to be more than a gymnastic star. You have to have absolute strength, endurance, balance, and you also have to be a tremendous sailor.
And the one that's showing best so far, Pete's brother Stu Johnstone, leading along with Cam Lewis almost halfway through this race. Team Ziploc continues in front, and they're easy to spot, Gary, wearing those pink hats.
Designer sailing gear. What next? You can make big gains making maneuvers quickly. Johnstone and Lewis are sailing perfectly at every turn.
So Team Ziploc continues in front with Lewis and Johnstone, and it looks like a big lead, but remember, already two of these boats have capsized. Cam and Stu have teamed for the most time together in a Johnstone One-Design 14. They think alike when it comes to strategy, and they know what to do in protecting a lead with only one leg remaining.
As long as no one's catching up, you can sail conservatively, but you don't want to get cocky at this point. Just sail by the numbers, get to the finish line.
In the drink, the Englishmen, they were poised for a second-place finish. Suddenly, they found themselves on a collision course with a commercial vessel. No other alternative but to capsize in order to avoid smashing into the side of that ferry.
The McKee brothers recovered from their capsize. They're running in fourth place.
Stretching out their 500-yard lead, Cam Lewis and Stu Johnstone to victory. Some high fives, some low fives, and a check awaiting of $6,000. In a dark horse finish for second, Californians Mark Sterrett and Tom Wandelek. The Swedes wound up third, Krister Bergstrom and Magnus Grovar. The big surprise, the McKee brothers wound up fourth after a runner-up finish in San Francisco. For Johnstone and Lewis, their earnings for the year, $12,000. When we come back, the fresh water of Lake Michigan. Milwaukee welcomes the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race to the Midwest.
The most exhilarating sailing that I've ever done.
The water's flying in your face, the wind's throwing you back. The acceleration of the boat is, you're just trying to hang on and keep going.
It's a bit like riding a bike down a hill without any brakes. There's no stopping it.
The showdown set now for Johnstone and Lewis and the McKee brothers. Here's our Kiwi colleague, Peter Montgomery.
Anticipation and expectation amongst the big crowd on the waterfront here in Milwaukee for the Johnstone One-Design 14s. Now down to leeward here. This is Team High Seas. Cameron Lewis and Stu Johnston have got off to an excellent start, but an even better start, the purple and white spinnaker, is Peter Eastman and Peter Johnstone. So now they're heading off to the first mark, and there's a fight between the Johnstone brothers. Who's going to get there first? It's Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman, followed then by Stu Johnstone and Cameron Lewis. Third around will be the McKee brothers from Seattle, followed then by Bobby Wilmot from Australia. On the second leg, Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman are defending their narrow advantage, putting a real premium on crew work and boat handling to hold their lead. In first place, you not only have to be concerned with tactics and precise crew work, but the mind games as well, to stay cool under pressure as rivals like Stu Johnstone wait to pounce and pass on a mistake.
Well, accidents do happen when people get in the lead and they start to have the $6,000 purse get to their heads a little bit. They tend to screw things up a little.
So now coming to the third mark, and the purple and white spinnaker first to go up. That is of Peter Johnston and Peter Eastman, holding a narrow lead over Team High Seas, Cam Lewis and Stu Johnston. Oh, Cam and Stu nearly lost it then, but they've been able to hold it. Third round now is Team Ziploc. That's the Olympic medalists from Seattle, Jonathan and Charlie McKee, with the red spinnaker, and they're now on the charge down to the next mark. So coming to mark number 4, this is halfway through the race. The fleet will drop their spinnakers and go into the eye of the wind for the second time. Peter Johnston and Peter Eastman, though, should have dropped their spinnaker by now. Cam Lewis and Stu Johnston have, and so have the McKee brothers. What on earth's going on with Peter Johnston and Peter Eastman? They seem to have some difficulty in dropping their spinnaker. They're sagging down to leeward, and Cam Lewis, Stu Johnston have got through to take the lead. The McKee brothers are through to second. So the lead changes for the first time in the race. Now the heat's on the top money winners of the tour, Stu Johnston and Cam Lewis, to hold first place as the talented McKee brothers are getting closer.
Might come a situation where you take a little bit of a risk, say at one of the mark roundings, and try to make a move on one of the packs ahead of you. But generally, it's not a high percentage move, and you have to really hope that the boats ahead of you make some mistakes.
Two bad tacks have allowed Team Ziploc, the McKee brothers, to come inside Team High Seas, and the McKee brothers from Seattle have hit the front for the first time in this race. So coming to mark number 6, 3 legs to go, and the blowtorch goes on the two leading crews. The McKee brothers are dropping their spinnaker. They're being a little cautious, but meanwhile Cam and Stu are carrying their spinnaker right up to the mark. They're going to try and sail round the McKee brothers. They've jibed, they're carrying the spinnaker well, but they do look as though they're sagging down to leeward. I don't think they can carry it like that. Back to third and fourth, another tremendous battle going on as Bobby Wilmot and Team Continental tried to cut inside Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman, but the Australian crew weren't able to do that, so they've got to go round outside now. They're rivals, and they're currently holding fourth position as they go back on the fetch to the next mark. Back to the leaders, and the McKee brothers have extended their advantage. Cam and Stu, by trying to carry that spinnaker, have paid the penalty, and they've sagged down to leeward that distance as the McKee brothers worked out to windward and have really got control of this race now as they're closing to the next mark. Coming to the final mark in the race, and Jonathan and Charlie McKee have really responded well today in this race in Milwaukee. Jonathan McKee, the Olympic gold medalist in 1984 out off Long Beach, and Charlie McKee won the 470 bronze medal in Korea in 1988. They really have sailed a magnificent race as they head to the finish. Stu Johnston and Cameron Lewis in the unaccustomed position of being second for them. After winning in San Francisco and Corpus Christi, they really will be ruining those mistakes on the two tacks when the McKees pass them. Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman in third position, and a fine performance by the Australians Bobby Wilmot and Chris Buckland in their first Ziploc, rounding fourth. But the eyes of the Milwaukee waterfront are focused on this pair. Charlie McKee out on the wire for his brother Jonathan as they're powering down to the finish. Set to take $6,000 first prize. There's the gun, and the McKee brothers win the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race in the Johnstone One-Design 14. As well they might wave to the crowd. Well done, Jonathan and Charlie, winners of the Ziploc Ultimate. Second place to Team High Seas, Stu Johnston and Cam Lewis, $2,500. So they stay top money winner on the Ziploc Tour for the year. Peter Johnstone and Peter Eastman third.
So Jonathan and Charlie McKee capped their second in San Francisco and fourth in Corpus Christi with a win here in Milwaukee. Johnstone and Lewis earn a second, but still are the top money winners for 1989. Congratulations to skipper Mike Hobson and his veteran Maryland Flyer crew. They won over $116,000 and stand as the top money winners for the 1989 racing season. The remaining prize money then for the Ultimate 30s. 4 boats, Maryland Flyer, Team Dickies, Chattanooga Chew, and Team Duraflame, all earning over $50,000. Congratulations also to Stu Johnstone and Cam Lewis, top money winners in the Johnstone One-Design 14 class. Their earnings $14,500 for the year. Join us again next year when the Ziploc Ultimate Yacht Race travels to the island of Oahu to begin the 1990 racing season. Then it's on to San Francisco Bay, Corpus Christi, Texas on 4th of July, and Labor Day weekend in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For Gary Jobson and Buddy Melkin, Peter Montgomery, and all our ESPN sailing team, I'm Jim Kelly. Good night, everybody.